Black Oni.
You're now listening to the Black Oni Podcast.
And you can combine these mixes in a different way with the vocals from one track, the drums from one track, or the guitar from another track, or the rhythm from another track, and being able to mix that in with creating your own solos in the song. It makes a very unique music experience. And all you have to do is just wave your hands. That's it.
That
You don't
sounds
have to.
cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's made by Harmonix, the same guys who made Guitar Hero,
Nice.
Rock, and these guys. They made it so where now you have an enjoyable music game that you can't actually fail, and it's fun if you have a group of people going. Like if you have like a live party going on, like a lot of people, and you just have music and make it so where people can make their own. That's a great idea, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we had a lot of fun with that game. Sorry, I'm looking over here because I'm actually still adding the names to the live stream.
Oh yeah, we played. We played that for 6 hours, I think.
My voice is still kind of lost from that entire day. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
Oh yeah,
Must be a good time.
Yeah.
Darius, I would recommend it.
Yeah,
Get your hands on that.
You still have a
Is that
360,
coming out
right?
soon?
It came
Who,
out
me?
already.
Who on 360?
You have a 360, right?
I had one. Not even-
Oh.
I still have one. It's for both Xbox One and for Xbox 360. It just requires a Kinect to play.
Right.
If you have an Xbox lying around, you have a Kinect or something like that, go pick it up. It's a lot of fun.
yeah.
I would agree. God damn it. Stuff like falling over there.
How about you, Darius? What are you playing?
I've downloaded Dust. I played for a couple minutes, but haven't been able to put that many hours into it yet. I've mostly been playing Drive Club, and then here and there with my friends, I've been playing Destiny. But Drive Club's
you've
had
been-
most of my time.
I don't mean to interrupt, but you actually got Drive Club to work?
Yeah. So the story goes, I got it the night it was available to download. And the servers, obviously, as we know, weren't working. And I'm just thinking, oh, maybe they're not up yet. Game just came out like 3 a.m. Like, I'll play in the morning. But then, no luck. I had to wait just like everybody else a couple of weeks, like 2 weeks now, 2.5 weeks now, for it to actually be stable. But it finally is stable after about 3 updates they've released for it. Every time I log in, online's working, whereas before, when I first got it, you'd log in and no dice at all, couldn't connect. But, I've mostly been playing the tour mode, honestly, because that's where you do a lot of the car unlocking and paint unlocking and things like that. So I've been spending a lot of time doing that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But I know we're gonna get into that later on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're definitely getting into that very soon. And so speaking of, actually, I've been playing a couple of games right now. Mostly, you guys can still hear me, right?
absolutely.
Okay, I'm still messing around with some audio settings. It's still a little bit messy and really hard to figure out exactly the best situation, the best setup. But I've been playing. What the hell have I been playing? I've been playing a little bit of Destiny. I actually just got Shadow Warrior, and I've been liking that a lot. I mean, it's a little silly. It's a little crazy. The hit detection's a little off on when like monsters are hitting you. Like they'll go like and like hit you like that, and I'm like all the way back there. Like what the fuck? I don't like that. But I've been playing that. I've been playing a little bit of Lords of Fallen. That's been pretty good. And I've been playing Dust. Dust is a very enjoyable game. I really like that game. I love the Nimbat. I already forgot her name though.
It's oh man, wow! I should know this.
I know.
I played it a little bit this morning. Why don't I remember? Fidget. It's Fidget.
Yeah. So Fidget is awesome. I love Fidget.
Her voice actor does a great job
Yeah.
nicking that character, I think.
Yeah, I would say so. And so those are mainly the games I've been playing. I actually just bought The Walking Dead season 2 on PS4.
Nice.
Oh, haven't even touched that yet. I got
Gotta
through
be
season
picking that up,
1
too.
long time ago.
Yeah.
That's the first game I played that made me cry.
Oh yeah, well it's one of the first games that made me cry. Absolutely,
It was rough.
I was
I think it
crying
was
like a little bitch.
season 1, episode 3. Like I lost like half my party, and I was just like, "What the?" Everybody died, and I was just so sad.
I was an emotional wreck by the end of that game. I was so sad. I was like, all right, you know what? I think I can get through the rest of this at some point.
I remember us talking about it. I texted you like, leave.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not gonna ruin anything for anyone who didn't play it, but I was crying like a little bitch by the end of that game.
No judgment. No judgment at all.
No judgment. We all understand the struggles, the everyday struggles. All right, and I'm gonna go over here again. My podcast agenda is on my other screen. That's why I keep looking over too. And so there's a bunch of games that have just released / are just releasing. Skylander Trap Team. I don't know anything about it, but if people at home are interested in that, then it's there. It's available. Project Spark. I haven't heard anything about. I don't know if it actually released or if people.
It's out. I read a review about it, and it seems like a really fun game because it's just one of those games where it gives you control of making your own game out of it. It's think of like a Little Big Planet, what that did for a 2-dimensional space, but in Spark you can do that in a 3-dimensional space.
Right. That's pretty dope.
I've seen some pretty impressive stuff. I saw someone recreated PT in there.
What?
Little Big Planet. Yeah. Like obviously it's not the same textures and things like that. It looks a little more like Project Spark-esque, but it was the game PT, like going through the door, and it's like the same hall and all that.
Oh, what?
It was nice.
I
was
gotta
like,
see that. I gotta see that. That's nuts. Oh man. Going back to the agenda. Sorry. There is NBA Live 15. I don't know if you guys have seen or even follow the NBA games, but I remember it was like one E3 ago. They were showing up NBA Live. They're like, our biggest feature is that we have the ball actually interacts with the player's hands.
Yeah, the ball has its own physics.
I was like, really? This is what you're leading with? Like,
isn't that when they changed the name to Elite?
Yeah.
That year?
It was so bad.
Well, if you think about it, I mean, how much farther can you technically advance a basketball game?
Right.
I mean, there's things they're doing with, I know, just running defenses, like, just, what do they call them? Screen passes, things like that. Mm-hmm. Being able to do duck and rolls, all these different things.
Yeah.
And it's nice that they can give the ball its own physics, because that can lead to unpredictability after the ball's been shot, these kind of things. But otherwise, it's just another basketball game.
Right.
Like you look at Madden, I mean, every year, it's just a roster update with some physics updates and a couple new animations.
The most that's changing with it seems to be the graphics, really.
Oh, I'm not going to lie. They look undeniably gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like, with how they're making the players look these days, and these sports games are absolutely incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you have to wonder if it's, disconcerting for, these athletes when they see themselves in a video game, like, holy, like, it's just, that's me. It's right there. Probably more so in basketball than it would be in Madden.
Well, even so, like, when the players see their stats, it's like, damn.
do you think that some of the rookies ever get disappointed with how low they get put their ranked at? Especially with some of their stats. So like, what do you mean my shooting's at 25? That's terrible. I'm better than that.
I imagine there's a big part of that. That's just like, I can't stomach this. Like, I'm the worst player in the NBA. Right.
There was a joke I remember I made a while back when Tim Tebow was actually drafted over to the Broncos, and he was traded to the Broncos, and I was thinking, well, what if they just make it to where all his stats change in the fourth quarter to where it's absolutely perfect? Because he always would do great in the fourth quarter, but he would be pretty lousy in the first three. Right. So if they had it to where everything just went up to 100, it would just be, I think that would be amazing. That'd be fun.
That'd be really fun.
Be realistic.
It would be
Absolutely.
fantastic. The other games coming out.
Maybe if it went to extra time, it would go one step beyond that.
The Evil Within. Heard some pretty decent things about it. He's been pretty middle of the road, right?
I've heard nothing but good things actually about it. Originally, I heard some people were kind of hesitant about it, but then once I got into the gameplay, they were like, "Wow, okay, this feels a lot like old school Resident Evil," and how it didn't really feel as much action oriented as it did exploring and having to use my brain.
Right. Yeah, I heard the puzzles are really intense.
I haven't actually gotten to play it yet, so I will be soon. So I will be able to let you know
Nice.
on that.
Nice. You should live stream on PlayStation.
I will undoubtedly do so.
Yeah. And Lords of the Fallen. I actually was just talking about that not too long ago. And I'll say this about Lords of the Fallen from my experience with it. I think it's very cool. It's a very Dark Souls, Demon Souls-esque type of experience. What I don't like about it is that it's a little glitchy right now. And so I was fighting a boss, and of course, with the Souls games, you die, you have to go get your soul back, etc., etc. Same principle. I think they give you a multiplier. The more you have at a time, they give you a multiplier, and you get more souls per kill. Mm-hmm. So I'm stuck at this part where this boss, I get down to literally a sliver of health at the very end, and the boss battles take forever. I don't like that. It's just like it's like Destiny, just chipping away at a bar for ever.
Yeah.
And the boss stops moving, and he looks at me, then looks away, and I'm still hitting him, fucking him up, and he just I just die. It's like the game glitches and then I just die. I see my soul escape me, and this happened twice.
So he kills you with a malignant thought?
Yeah, essentially. And we're both down
That's
to a
awesome.
point where we both have no health left. So I'm all right, this is the very last blow. And the thing about this boss battle is that you fight him, and then he puts this protective shield around himself, and then you have to fight his other minions, and just like any Souls game, the minions can kill you in 4 hits. But if you don't kill them fast enough, he takes his shield thing off and attacks you while they're attacking you.
Do you suffer a penalty when you die? Because I know in Dark Souls 2, I saw that when you die, your maximum health becomes decreased.
No,
And
there's
so
none of
you
that.
find- Oh, well, that's lovely.
It is lovely, but it's not lovely when it's not working right.
Right. Doesn't sound fun, that boss fight.
Yeah, and I can't go further unless I do it.
Right.
Have you tried hitting him more?
I feel like I might have tried that at some point. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe I'm actually just farting on him every time I swing my sword.
Well, it's undoubtedly better than the whole 3-tier progression system when it comes to boss fights that have been in the past. It's okay. This thing's glowing, or this is a vulnerable spot, and you have to go through 3 cycles before you beat a boss. I've seen that a lot in the industry lately.
Technically, it is.
If there's something different with Demon Souls, that's good. Well, I haven't actually played it at all, so I wouldn't be able to tell you. But if it's anything different than that whole 3-round progression system, that'd be great.
Yeah, it's kind of like a 3-round progression. It's the first boss fight you fight this guy who's just this giant sword. He's a giant demon. You get him down to tier 2. He takes off a bit of his armor, so he's faster now. So he can come at you at a much higher speed rate. And then there's 3rd tier. It's all within one same battle, so it's not separate battles or anything like that. He takes off his shield and just goes full force swinging at you the entire time. So that's pretty cool.
I like it if they change up their different attack patterns. That's
Yeah.
pleasant. I don't like it if it's just a recycled thing over and over again.
Yeah,
It's boring that way.
exactly.
I tell you what wasn't boring. The new after the update for Destiny, Atheon, Vault of Glass in the Hard. Mm-hmm. That fight is just ridiculous now.
Shit.
Because they added in those baby bumpers to make it to where you can't cheese them off the edge anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that's okay. I mean, a lot of people, there's been some controversy I've seen on the forums about how they changed it to where now he will randomly teleport 3 people as opposed to just the 3 that were closest to him.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that though, because that means this is supposed to be one of the games that they want to make the hardest possible challenge for you that's still technically doable.
Yeah.
But I was reading the
On hard mode,
stat-
it's impossible though.
Well, I won't lie. It took a good 4 or 5 hours to get through, and that was with a group of people that knew what they were doing.
Right.
And because there's no matchmaking in it. Sometimes when I'm only the only person on, I'll have to go to DestinyLFG.com and look for a group that way. But more often than not, the people I've found that have been doing that are actually pretty friendly.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
And I want to say that it is doable. You can kill him, but everybody just needs to know everybody's roles. You know, the group is only as strong as the weakest member of it.
Right.
So if you're running off trying to be a lone wolf in that particular situation, it's going to be impossible because you need all 6 people to get through that fight.
Right. This is true. So we'll blast through the rest of these unless you guys have some things you want to talk about, so we can get to the other gaming news.
Mm-hmm.
But we got Vib Ribbon, Dreamfall Chapters, which I actually heard about before a while ago, and it looks pretty interesting. But I don't know where we're at now in terms of like people's interest in that title. Disney Fantasia, we talked about a little bit. Fucking awesome game. Rocksmith 2014, Sunset Overdrive, and Freedom. Oh, look at them! Oh. You guys are on Twitch.
Shut up, Will.
Making out on Twitch. You guys are gross.
This is life. This is the human experience right here.
Well, we're about to get a lot more human experience soon. Look at that.
What? I can't kiss my girlfriend before she leaves the house? Am I not allowed?
No problem.
Okay, well, there you go.
We're just letting the Twitch users know that things are about to get down.
Well, this is going to be a rated PG podcast. I don't think you need to worry about that too much.
PG-13. There are a few swears in there.
Wait.
And actually, Sunset Overdrive just came out, but I haven't heard any of my actual friends discussing it.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about it.
I don't have an Xbox, but I have been watching it kind of carefully on the internet. I've been watching a lot of gameplay video of it, and I'll be honest with you, it seems kind of wacky, crazy, Ratchet and Clank kind of combat, but it's it doesn't seem like the gameplay itself and the way it has the locomotion system, and pretty much as long as you're not running on the ground, you're moving fast. It doesn't really, I don't know, it didn't jump out at me. It didn't seem like something I wanted to invest my money in. Especially since they're dropping the price now for the systems for Xbox One to $350, and then they have a bundle. I'm not aware if they have the bundle included in the $350 price or no. So they'll have the game and the console, but that'll be without the Kinect, right? That's the one without the Kinect.
Yeah, so it's the one without the Kinect, and it is. I think the Sunset Overdrive without the Kinect bundle is $350. And like the Assassin's Creed Unity bundle is $350, but it also comes with Assassin's Creed Black Flag, which is also interesting.
So then you get 2 games. That's interesting. Mm-hmm. You get there's what they're going to have. It's what is it? The Call of Duty bundle as well. Then that's going to have a special console. It's designed for Call of Duty, but
it's going to have a 1 terabyte hard drive.
Ooh, what am I going to do with all that space?
Right. Games. Because the games like each take up like 50 gigs.
Yeah.
Some of them can be a little less.
I've noticed that on my PlayStation, but
I mean, the thing about PlayStation though is that it installs games so fast. You just like put it in, and it's just like, oh, okay.
Oh yeah, it'll make you wait like a good like minute or two. It'll install like 20% of the game, just enough to get it running, and then it'll let you play.
Right.
With we were having that issue with the Xbox the other day.
God!
It was like, no, you can't play it until it's completely installed. So nah.
Yeah.
And it felt like the Xbox was just being childish about it. I'm like, well, I want to play it now. I don't want to sit here and wait all day.
Right.
You're being childish, Xbox. You're being childish.
Well, speaking of being childish, I'm like, oh yeah, we're going to release where you're always connected. You have to have a Kinect. You can't play any used games. Mm-hmm. What happened to that? They backtracked on all of that.
They had no choice.
Every single thing of it.
Yeah, they had to.
They had no choice. I mean, people.
Well, yeah, last year.
Yeah.
The initial sales were like 5-1 in PlayStation's favor.
Yeah.
And they made their money back on the entire R&D, the entire advertisement, everything within a month.
Really?
I think that's what I read. Yeah, they just started. They make it like it's supposed to be the highest selling new console that's ever been recorded.
Yeah, I believe that. I believe that wholeheartedly, and I'm kind of blown away by that too. It's like we're in this generation where we can say that, and like people kept saying, doom and gloom, consoles are dead, no one's going to be buying consoles, and I don't know.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe PCs are still outselling both.
Yeah,
but
I would assume so.
But that makes sense. I mean, it's PC, you can do more stuff with that. But I think I was having this conversation the other day with Andy, and he feels that this might be the last hardware generation we end up with
Actually, we talked about that during one of our last podcasts.
because they may.
I think, I mean, to be honest, that might be true. And because we're moving towards, it sounds corny saying this, we're moving towards cloud computing to the point where, like, PlayStation Now, for example, you can stream your games at a fairly high resolution on a PS3, or you can do it on like a phone.
Yeah, the way they have it, they can do the PlayStation Now, or they can do PlayStation Now through any Sony product, like with their TV, with anything like that. So you can play Last of Us remastered on a TV as long as you can sync up the controller to it. As long as it's a Sony TV, you can play it on your Vita. You can play it just about anywhere you get an access to a screen. That's amazing.
Right.
I think that's awesome. I will say I've noticed that in my experience with PlayStation Now that some of the faster paced action games, like I tried playing Enslaved, Journey to the West. I had never gotten to play that game, and I streamed that through during the trial phase. And I will say the graphics are great, but if the screen's moving around too much, you're going to get some pixelation. But I'm assuming that's just because it's streaming through the internet. It's not anything super huge detrimental where you can't see what's going on. But it doesn't. It ends up losing that 720p resolution, and you can kind of tell that. But the response time is still amazing. It's fantastic.
Really? Okay.
I mean, it's not 1-to-1, but it's pretty close.
It's
mean,
pretty
when they
amazing to
say
say that we can do that, though, like,
yeah, it's you're playing a game that you don't even own, that's not even in your house, or running off any soft or hardware that you have currently in there.
yeah, it's insane.
And when they recommend that you plug it into the internet, you really should. I tried it over Wi-Fi; it was terrible.
Yeah.
Couldn't get to it. But no, I mean, if you look at it, especially in the future, I mean, we may be moving more and more away from hardware and just trying to do it with software, to where the hardware you have will be able to play these games.
Right on.
Of course, we all know Nintendo's never going to jump on that bandwagon.
Well, Nintendo's a different beast altogether.
I know.
Different beast altogether. We'll talk about that too. Ooh, there's a lot of good stuff to talk about. But for you guys at home who don't know about this, the Xbox One is available for the low price of $350. First of all, about time. They need to do something to really compete against the PlayStation. You can't put it at the same price as a PlayStation. You can't.
Gonna lose every time.
So
Especially when you don't have the software to sell the system.
Yeah. They do have software at this point. They do have Forza. They do have Titanfall. They do have, of course, exclusive content for Call of Duty, which we're all getting.
Well, here's the thing with a lot of those games. They're on 360 as well.
It's true.
Every single one of them. Like, they didn't advertise it at all, but Titanfall came out like 2 weeks later on 360 after the Xbox One release. And that's
true.
You didn't need to buy a new console. And the gameplay is exactly the same. The resolution is a little bit lower, but that's it.
Yeah.
It's the only difference. What you need to set, like, I think, which is cool with the bundles and everything, but 2 of those titles that they're bundling with, those are third-party games.
Yep. Assassin's Creed. Even Madden, FIFA. The
biggest thing I think coming out that's going to help maybe the system out, especially with the low price bundle, somebody may get it for Call of Duty and then, hey, Halo comes out. I can play 5 Halo games, like now, with every multiplayer map. Everything, just right out the box. That's gonna really boost sales with that system, I think.
Yeah, that is a great deal.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I
mean, remember, Trinity Mark, you got a 360 originally to play Halo 4, right?
Yeah.
Would you ever consider getting a Xbox One to get the Master Chief Collection?
When I saw that reveal, I was like, that is enticing.
We used to play a lot of Halo.
Yeah, because the only time I really played Halo was with you back on the original Xbox with Halo 2, the multiplayer, which was very fun. So it's like, I can play every Halo.
With every map. Everything.
Just so like hyperventilating.
That's like I thought, I can't remember what it was exactly, but it's like over 100 maps to play Halo on. And if you have the Chief Collection sit down there and you have your friends like, hey, what do you guys want to play? You want to play Halo 3, Halo 2, Halo 4 tonight? What's on your minds? What do you want to do?
Had me like,
the only thing I'm disappointed with, the only thing I would say that even close to be disappointing is that Halo Reach is not shipping with that bundle.
That is disappointing, because I wanted to play Halo Reach. I read about it and read the kind of what happens throughout the entire journey. At the end, I was just like, man, that's kind of that kind of hits home a little bit at the very end.
Oh, well, the tagline for the game is at the beginning, you already know the end. And after you get through the beginning character customization, you get to choose your helmet, your armor, all that stuff. You get to see the first opening cutscene is a burned, like a Covenant glassed area where it just looks everything's just been completely melted down to glass, and you see your helmet that you just picked sticking out of the ground.
Wow.
And you're like, wait, what?
Wow.
I'm already dead.
That's crazy.
And then like the whole story plays through it, and like I'm not gonna lie, like as a swan song goes for Halo, that was a great job by Bungie. Like they loved it. That's probably why a lot of people were disappointed with Destiny, because the story in Reach, which was the last game they made, was so good that things just got left out.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately. And speaking of, I guess, re-releases, GTA San Andreas released for Xbox 360 for some reason.
I saw that. That was unexpected. They upgraded the textures. There's still a little bit of frame rate issue, but I mean, you have Grand Theft Auto Andreas was by far one of the most successful PlayStation 2 games ever released.
Right.
And they put that on Xbox 360. That's cool, but why now?
Why now on the 360? It's not like that's
Well,
the thing that's flying off the shelves now.
as I understand it, their anniversary was around that time. I think it was like a week and a half ago when they like put it out there, and their anniversary was like people were talking about what are they going to do for it and stuff like that. But I would expect something a little bigger than here's San Andreas for 360.
Yeah.
Well, if they're trying to put longevity onto the console, like, how many people were playing PlayStation through like halfway through last gen systems?
Right.
So, like, that was, I think, supposed to be the highest selling console that's been out there ever is PlayStation 2. Like, there's one every pawn shop you go to. There's one just about in a lot of people's homes. I still know a lot of people that still play theirs. I still love those games, but I think if they're aiming for that sort of longevity, why would you just put this on 360? Why not give us, the Master Chief Collection on 360? I don't mind that.
Yeah. Yeah. See, that would require too much sense.
I don't mind playing without mind juggling 8 or 9 discs.
I don't know. I think they should have put that on next gen, if anything.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's every opportunity that they could if they coded it. Just change the code up a little bit, make a arcade title downloadable through Xbox One or through PlayStation Network,
Or even like a collection of the PS2 GTAs.
That would take a lot of time to play through. Now I think about it. Like, imagine they took every Grand Theft Auto, put it into a collection, and just threw it at people.
Take it.
You honestly wouldn't need a new game for like that for like half the year or more.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's adorable.
So, story about this. For you guys listening at home on iTunes instead of watching for some reason. I went to a Halloween party yesterday, and on my way to the Halloween party, I went with a coworker to her place to meet her boyfriend and her children. And her children were adorable, and one of them was dressed up as Elsa, the other was dressed up as Olaf. And she wanted to get the little sticker thing on for her face, but they got two, and she was like, I don't want to use two, I only want to use one. And they were like, you want it? I was like, I guess I'll wear it at the party. I didn't wear it at the party. I should have. But now I'm wearing it on the podcast because the internet. So
Okay.
that's just the way it's going to go down. And again, for you guys at home who don't know the deal, I met Sam through our friend Andy, who's also been on the podcast by New Prince. And Extra Life managed throughout the entire span of it kind of existing throughout the year, managed to pull in around $5 million for charity. Thanks to gamers like you, like me, like all of us.
Awesome.
And yeah, I'm really, really excited and proud to say that, there are so many people who are willing to give, whether it's give their time or give their energy or give their voices, give their money to help children around the U.S. I think it's really humbling to know that we're continuing to, I guess, push out some of that positive energy. Despite all this craziness going on with Gamergate and all the death threats and harassment.
Yeah.
And we've talked about Gamergate a bunch of times before. I'll let you guys, if you want to add to that in the guest topics, talk about that. But I want to say from Team Lunique, from myself, thank you to everyone who had a part in either watching or contributing or being a part of the live streaming action. It was very fun, very awesome.
Do you know how much we ended up raising on our particular stream?
For our team, it was $918. So actually,
ain't bad.
It still goes to the rest of the year, so we can still have people donate. I'm leaving that link on Twitch for people to donate, so people can just go on and donate whenever they want. But by the end of Saturday, we had about 863.
Oh yeah, what did we start with that day? I don't think we had anything. Like maybe $30 or $40.
We had I think we had like $400. Before that day, we had around $400, but we weren't even halfway at our mark because we were trying to raise 1,000. And throughout that day, we got to 863. Like, that's nuts.
I'm probably sure that was because of Pac-Man Championship Edition. That game was just insane. It's like somebody gave Pac-Man just like a big, massive pile of crack, and he just stored it all and tried to do his best Sonic the Hedgehog impression just all over the place. It was nuts, and the soundtrack was amazing.
Yeah, it was so good.
We were all just dancing around, having a good time with that.
Twerking. Yeah.
Yes, I was twerking. Yes, that was for the kids. That was help raise somebody. It was twerking for the children. Why isn't that a slogan? Just like twerking for the children.
I think my next live stream that I do is just going to be called twerking for the children.
We're going to have just a poll in the middle of the room, and we're going to go for that.
I'll get that email. Jay Blaze has just went live with twerking for the children.
Make sure you're subscribed on Twitch to get the first notification on there, guys. Twitch.tv/JBlaze06. Yeah. I wanted to try to make it Black Oni sick or Black Oni, but someone else already took that.
That's the worst.
Yeah, and like on Twitter, like someone else already took Black Oni, and like I looked at his profile, and he goes by Black Zeus. So I don't know what the fuck he did Black Oni for. Like I don't know.
You could ask him for it back, maybe.
I asked his sister because like she kept tagging me on stuff. I was like, I don't know who you are. Like, why do you keep doing that? She's like, oh, it's because of Twitter. Because I have Instagram is Black Oni, and then and Twitter is Black Oni 6, and so it was automatically just tagging me. So I was like, would he be okay with like not using that? I mean, I haven't approached him about it yet, but it is a business. It is like a trademarked business.
Right.
I don't know what the rules and regulations are on that though. So you mentioned earlier, Trinity Marblue, that Drive Club, you were playing Drive Club, you was having fun playing that, but it's still having issues with its connectivity and features. So I want to ask you, since you've had a personal experience with it, what has been the biggest like issue in general? Has it just been like getting on at all, or has it been like really bad connections, or?
I'll say initially the biggest issue would be obviously you boot up the game and just no connection to the online at all. It kind of felt rewarding when you'd be playing and it say connection to the online service has restored for like 2 minutes, and then again no connection, but since it's been more stable, the only problem has been, for example, I try to play with a friend of mine, get into a race together. Mm-hmm. A friend can join your session, and then you can go into whatever online event you want, and then like any online game, you'd expect your friend to pop right up once the the online room's going.
Right.
But there'd be some times where he'd be in my session, but once the players are starting to load up, he's not there. And I'm like, are you in the room? He's like, no, my car's still loading. I'm like,
what?
So there was that. The last time we did it, it worked flawlessly. He joined my session, and then once I went into event, he was in the event, so it was okay.
Okay.
But then the only other issue has been, I haven't been playing it recently. I think I played it a couple days ago. The only issue last time was going into an event, and once it would supposed to have loaded, it would say there was a problem with communicating with the server. It would just kick you out of a game session. So mostly, I think that's the only problem I've experienced. They still haven't unlocked challenges for you to create a challenge and send it to a friend, things like that. That's still
it's supposed to be like one of the biggest features of the game.
Exactly. And obviously the PlayStation Plus edition, we just got word from Shuye yesterday that they're delaying that until further notice. So that must be very disappointing for people that were waiting to try it out first,
And I was one of those people. Like, I was actually really excited about this game. Like, it seems
I was
like
as well.
Yeah, it seems like a really good marriage between like social interaction with people.
Yeah.
You know, creating these organized clubs essentially, so that you can like have your own challenges in between each other and compete against other ones, and like you can do that on your own time or with people at the same time, and you know the visual aesthetics of that game were so
Amazing.
good. Yeah, like they spent a long time not just on the graphics themselves, but also the art direction, and I was just really blown away by that.
It definitely has its own style, like that you haven't seen before in a racing game. So, gameplay wise, like you're saying, it looks fun. It is fun. It's a perfect kind of blend between, say, a Need for Speed and then a Gran Turismo. Like has elements of both, you know. And you get that, and like you can't speed through a turn. You have to brake through the turn, and then you can speed right back up, you know, on your way out of the turn, which is fun. It teaches you like you need to develop some type of driving skill, you know, to do well.
Yeah, I didn't learn that from Burnout at all.
No,
No, I need to go through this corner as fast as I possibly can.
Right.
Worst case scenario, I crash and it looks great.
Exactly.
I can't tell you how much time I wasted on Burnout Paradise. Like,
oh, so
Beautiful.
yeah.
one of the best parts about that game is just being able to throw both shoulder buttons and then you're just tumbling down the street and just slamming into everything. It's okay because you never see drivers or anything in the car, so it's really just cars on.
Have at it.
Which is great.
I'm
But
waiting for the rated M version of that. Just people flying out of
I'm sure there's got to be a mod for that somewhere. I don't know if you've seen what's that game called where it's all just about just physics and crash. I can't remember.
It was on Xbox.
Off the top of my head.
Or was it about something different?
Wow, yeah, it was like it's not. It was something where it's all just like a bunch of derby cars, and you're just like going through like urban environments sometimes, but like half your car will fall off like by the time the race is almost over. That was a very virtually satisfying experience as well. I can't remember the name of the game at the time, but looking for a new racing game, I was looking at Drive Club. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have a PlayStation. Drive Club is gonna be great, but I think with all these issues they're having, they're missing their window because it's very difficult to launch a new racing IP, especially with Forza dominating the market as it is now. Yep. You need to have that window when there's not a Forza game out there. And is there a new one out already now, or is there going to be one very soon?
Yeah, it's basically the month before. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you need that, I mean,
it's a problem.
It's like if your game doesn't work off the bat, like, oh, I'll just go get Forza, I guess, because I'll get my money back for this and that, and you lose a lot of your market on that.
The bad thing about it is Forza Horizon 2 came out, and its reviews are stellar from what I've seen. People have a lot of fun with that game. And the thing about Drive Club, Sony released the trailer where I think VG247 had a comment like Forza Killer, and Sony was like, "Oh, we got to put that in our advertisement for it." And it's like before the game,
and it doesn't work.
Everybody's hyped. They're like, "Oh, they put in Forza Killer. That's crazy." Game comes out, basically broken. The online's broken, and it's just like
you got killed by Forza.
It's incredibly unfortunate. I mean, I'm sure
I'm sure Sony execs are really pissed off about it.
Oh, it's not. Don't even think about that for a minute. Think about the developers of the game itself and how they got to feel right now. This is something they've been working on for the last 3-4 years of their life. Yeah. They've been really excited about it, and then just right out the gate, it's like you build this awesome super sports car. There's only one type in the world, right? You drive it right outside the parking lot. Next thing you know, like a semi just plows right through it, and you're just sitting there trying to pick up the pieces after you go, and you know it's never going to be as good as you made it originally because of
just
that.
impression-wise, it's just like
the first thing that happens as soon as you leave that garage. Yeah, that's rough.
And you need that initial push of advertising where people are playing this game and like, oh yeah, it's a lot of fun. Get it. Like,
word
is that
of
all?
Mouth starts circulating. Yep.
And now the only real word of mouth they're getting is negative. It doesn't work. Yeah, you can play it, but you can't play it online with your friends.
Right.
It's cool, I guess. And then the people who had PlayStation Plus are like, oh, cool, I could just pick it up for free, try it out. If I like it, I'll buy the full version. That's not even there for us. Mm-hmm. It's not there.
The app's not up because they don't want to release the app if it's still having problems.
Oh, yeah.
The app probably even has problems.
The app doesn't even...
It's just so many things. And I feel bad for Evolution because they made MotorStorm. Everybody loves MotorStorm.
Was awesome.
MotorStorm was awesome. It was just crazy. Yeah. It was high octane, just nuts.
So it's not like
And-
they had like necessarily something to prove. They made great games, you know what I mean? So it's like, oh, here comes like another potential great one, and it's just like not the reception they were hoping for.
Nope.
Is this going to be the year of that? I mean, we've already had two very high profile developers met with initial harsh criticism of their games, like Bungie, put out their game, and then Evolution just put out theirs, and now even with yesterday the Evolve Big Alpha that was up, and it's delayed on PlayStation 4 now because they were having some network issues. And
2.0,
as
yeah.
an alpha for if you're having a netcode issue already or the game doesn't even work, that's a problem.
The biggest problem with that is that Evolve has been a thing for a very long time. Like, people have been playing it already at events. Like, I went to PAX East and like I was almost able to play it because like I was interviewing Josh, and he was like, "Yeah, let's try to get you in line," but it was the end of the day, so like I had to actually leave. But like they have the game up and running. It's not like it doesn't work at all. But the fact that it did get delayed is just like, I feel like this delay after delay after disappointment after disappointment after hiccup. I mean,
Right.
It's got to catch up at some point, you know?
It's
Oh
just-
yeah, we will. I mean, we'll get Capcom will pull the stick out of their butt. They'll make a good Mega Man game for us, and things will start working up from there.
But I mean, in terms of like people's frustration with Sony, though, like I think that will.
Well, I get that, but from what I've seen, it's not just Sony's fault. It's really just the software.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at how heavily Activision pushed for Destiny to be the better experience on PlayStation. Mm-hmm. And I'm not gonna lie, the game is fun. It's still fun.
Yeah.
It's good. There's nothing wrong with the game itself, other than the fact that it's missing just that there's this weird, very vague, limited storytelling, and I can get more into that later if you want. I mean,
Oh yeah.
or even right now, if you look at Marty O'Donnell, their lead composer, the guy who's been there forever, who made the music in Halo, was one of the reasons I played Halo so much because I loved it.
Love that.
It just set the atmosphere. With Destiny, he left like right after pretty much his work was done. There was some really shady issues there, and Joe Staten, their creative director, the guy who's pretty much behind their story, he left about a year before the game released to work at Microsoft. And they say it was on good terms.
They said it was on good terms, but they said there were some creative decisions that they didn't agree with.
And you look at it now. I mean, the game. Let's look at the positives for the game. The art direction, amazing, incredibly beautiful. One of the prettiest games I've ever played. Then you look at the sound design.
So visceral. So,
Oh yeah,
so
like
well
I read something on there, and they said about 97% of the sounds were all made in house. You hire Paul McCartney to do the end theme credits song to do with the Marty O'Donnell. And then you have all these amazing elements. The gameplay is solid. The user interface is fantastic. It's great. The progression system, that's all fantastic. But then just the one thing, the meat of the story, it feels like it got ripped out.
Yeah.
And people are saying, I've been following it on the forums for Bungie.net. And there are people like, oh, we don't want to pay for the DLC to give us a story. But the DLC that's coming up, like Dark Below and the House of Wolves, those aren't giving you supplemental story for the game. If you look at the development stuff, they'll give you story to build up for those strikes and those raids.
Right.
But we're not going to get the story, I think, for at least a while.
Yeah,
narrative,
if at all.
it's-
Narrative.
But, I mean, if you put it in perspective, a lot of MMOs, especially since it's supposed to be a shooter shared world, that kind of style gameplay, well, some of them have had rocky starts, and they got better over time, and they have planned 10-year support for this game. That is where the $500 million estimate came from. It wasn't just all put into marketing and development right off the front. A lot of people make that mistake.
Yeah.
Right.
But this is how much they set aside to make this game and to make it work over the long haul. Because as far as we've seen, they're not doing any microtransactions. They're not doing like things like other MMOs do. There's no in-game currency you can buy, and there's not really much else you can buy other than the DLC.
Right.
But the fact that they made that initial investment back in like the first day,
Right.
Yeah.
just for sales alone, that's huge.
They broke some major records.
Especially, look, the story, in my opinion, like as a guy who enjoys story in the video game, it's lacking.
Yeah, it's atrocious.
But is the game still fun?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
like so many people are hating on it, but we're still playing it.
Yeah.
We're stuck to it. It's like we're in an abusive relationship where we know that it's bad for us, but we just can't leave. And I think the other thing you would want to look at just at it is that a lot of people are kind of being like the minority, especially in these days, are the ones that are being critical. And these days on the internet, if you can pull up the internet browser, you can have a voice, and all of a sudden your voice is heard. So a lot of the negative criticism people put out there isn't necessarily indicative of the actual people that I encounter when I'm playing the game. Because when making a pickup group for a raid, which is the hardest thing in the game, and everybody being generally happy to be there and enjoying themselves and not complaining, that's incredible for a game that I've seen, especially without the in-game matchmaking for raids.
Right.
But I mean, let's face it, if you ended up doing, that's another feature that a lot of people wanted to put in, the raid matchmaking.
Yes.
If, well, let's face it, do you really want to end up getting stuck with like a group of like 4 13-year-olds for 4 hours, 5 hours at a time?
I mean, you can always leave.
Yeah, but then you got to do the process over again. And it's easier. I think it's honestly easier on left group because you find people who are like-minded that want to get through it, that want to do it, that have done it before.
I would say it should be an included feature within the game itself to be able to do that.
Well, I think that if they...
It doesn't have to be matchmaking. It can still be that chat room kind of...
It would be simplest, I think, for Bungie to develop it, just to put it on their actual website.
Yeah.
Like, you know how like LFG, they just filled in a separate section for that. And then, let's say with the click of a button, if you've got your PlayStation activated, to where you can join that session. Mm-hmm. That would be easy, I think.
That would be awesome.
As opposed to them having to make a whole new UI and code all that stuff into the game itself, just make it to where, okay, we do all this work, you push the button, your character gets sent there. Mm-hmm. It would probably be easier from a developmental standpoint. Even though I know nothing about coding, it sounds like a lot less work to me.
Yeah, basically. And that was a very good kind of segue into that, because I actually did want to talk about Activision a little bit in relation to a contract deal that they have set up in relation to Metacritic. So Activision set up a deal in their contract for bonuses for achieving a high Metacritic score on Destiny. And John Bain, Total Biscuit, you've known from the Game Station or now their Polaris podcast, chimes in about that whole scenario, especially with Shadow of Mordor as well, how they had very specific deals in the NDA and contract that you had to give it a certain level of positive exposure before you were allowed to review it. I think a lot of problems that we have within the industry stem from this Metacritic.
That again goes back to what I said earlier, where anybody who has access to the internet can now have their voice heard. Mm-hmm. On these days on the internet, especially with sites like Metacritic, even look at movies with Rotten Tomatoes, where if you have the ability to type something in, you can affect how that game is received by other people, even if you're right or wrong or not. Mm-hmm. I mean, you could put up a review that says this game's bad, and now next thing you know, that's just dropped their Metacritic score based on averages.
Right.
With the bonuses, as you said, I mean, let's face it, I mean, who would expect Bungie not to get high Metacritic scores? But now, if they want to meet that bonus, it's like a $250 million. It's like a $2.5 million bonus, right? It's in terms of what the actual studio pulls in, it's not much. I mean, especially if they divide. Yeah, but if they divide it among their employees, yeah, it's a nice bonus for their paychecks. I mean, it'd be nice for them, but they're still already making plenty of money as it is. I guarantee you, nobody Bungie is struggling financially, right? Not one of them. But
you would think not.
We'll hope not.
Yeah.
I mean, Marty, if you're listening, I'll hire you. But I just want a couple lullabies to put me to sleep. That'd be great. What's their Metacritic score right now? They would need like a couple hundred out of hundreds just to bump that like a substantial amount. And let's face it, that's not going to happen now.
No, it's not.
So they're not getting that bonus. But as far as business practices go, I think that's a healthy thing, because let's face it, like if you're in sales or something like that, you set a bonus where if you make our company this and this much money, we give you a little bit more. What's that?
It's at a 76.
Yeah, it's going to need a lot of hundreds to breach that. It was supposed to be a 90?
Yeah.
Okay. It's not an unheard of business practice and other things just to shell out bonuses for better performance.
Right, but if you're measuring the performance based off of a system like this, then it's like
That's a thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's completely user generated. It's not professional. I mean,
Well,
it is
they have a
the
user
site
score,
itself
and
is
they have like a
professional.
meta score, which is like the publications, like the bigger
Yeah.
publications, and
Right.
the I mean the issue overall is that like stuff like that will depend on people's own perceptions or opinions about the game. Like essentially, what these reviews are opinions from one gamer about the game. So like,
Yeah.
how can you put the weight of that impact on the performance is speaking for itself. It's like it's broken records. It's selling like billions essentially at this point. Like
Well-
that could be a good measure of success. It's selling like a crap ton of copies.
Oh yeah. I mean, like I won't lie. Like that was the original reason I wanted to get my hands on a PlayStation 4, like Destiny. I was all about it. But I don't think it's a necessarily unhealthy practice. I think, yeah, sure, maybe. I mean, if they just take the professional rating scores off of Metacritic and average those, that's probably okay. But if you're taking all of them, I'm not sure if that's a good idea.
Right.
Because you have, as far as I'm very limited with my understanding how Metacritic works, but you have your professional category and then you have your user generated reviews. So you get your industry reviews and you get your consumer reviews.
But they keep them split. So
Yeah.
the Metacritic that you see, I believe, is all based off of. It says based off of 93 critics, so it's based off of very specific. Like, I think you have to have a certain standard set on your site in order to be considered a larger publication. So like they have their own thing, and that is the Metacritic like overall score. And then to the right of that, they have the user score, which is at a 6.4 right now.
Well, I mean, yeah, I think that it's going to be unfortunate because they're not going to hit
No, they're not.
us because of that, just with how the ratings are. But yeah, you're absolutely right with the sales. It's been absurd. The hype machine that was following this was just undominable. You had Activision's marketing with their experience of like 8 or 9 Call of Duty titles. You've got
Yeah.
Bungie, who made
Halo.
first-person shooters what they are today on consoles. Everybody was like, "Oh no, you can't get it to work with a console. You can't do that.
Right.
It's not right." But then their controller worked. Just the Halo 1 was just out the box, flawless, great. Changed that whole experience. Like we wouldn't have Call of Duty if it wasn't for Halo. At least not in the same way we'd have it right now.
Right.
We wouldn't have just about any of the first-person shooter genre as it is today.
What do you say?
But
Killzone.
Killzone. There you go.
Killzone, absolutely, yeah.
And like the conversely, like the other effect of that is that like, I had this discussion with a couple of people actually about Bayonetta 2, and there was a reviewer I think on Polygon. Don't quote me on that, but I think it was Polygon that had a problem with the way Bayonetta was portrayed as a female character. And that was literally the only negative thing they said about. I mean, there's a lot of things I can say about that, but that was the only negative thing they said about the game. They gave it a 74 out of 100.
I think that's you're absolutely right. That is odd because you're looking at it as Japanese culture and how they portray their women, especially in video games, over sexualized, and then you have your main character being just like this whole like school teacher, but like witch kind of thing with the glasses, all that kind of stuff. That's just their culture. That's how that works.
That's the
if you ever
design
watch an
aesthetic that they
anime
wanted
any
to go
day,
for.
you'll see how this is. Yeah.
Yeah, and the problem I have with that though is that like people were saying that people were upset that they mentioned that in the review. I was like, no, that's not why people are upset about the review score. They're upset about it because if you look across the board at Bayonetta, almost every other outlet, any other publication have given the game 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, 8 out of 10 at the least. And if they had something bad to say, it was about design decisions on the actual game itself. This person's negative reaction to it was based on the over-sexualization of the character versus, and like how that affects the score of the game. Like,
And we come full circle back to Gamergate.
exactly. And my theory, and actually John Bain, Total Biscuit, actually talked about this during this talk that he had, an interview that he had. If we remove the obstacle of this score, there would be a lot less incentive to have that be part of the argument against women in general or against anybody in general. Like if you can go through the review and talk about the things you like and don't like and kind of have that be like an over-encompassing thing. Like I'm seeing a lot of other publications now adopting that thing. So like Rev3 Games, for example, got rid of their 5-star structure for that very reason, that people were focusing too much on the scores instead of the words themselves. and I actually, if like it's working. Like people are looking at what they're saying. They're like, all right, I see that the character is sexualized, but like I also see that the game is like flawless. Like taking that takeaway versus taking a takeaway that the game's a 74 out of 100. Like if someone told me to, this game that's a 6 out of 10 is actually really good, I'd be like, fuck out of here.
Well, as you think about it, I mean, just that kind of character portrayal. You have this game on the Wii U.
Right.
Which you look at it, this system is entirely focused more on like the family kind of stuff, the happy-go-lucky stuff. You got Mario, you got Donkey Kong, you got all these kind of these normal happy little fun games. Then you have this sexed up combat full game that's all just like it pops up out of nowhere, and it doesn't really mesh in a lot, and that might be part of it. But when we look back at what I just said, and when it's just back into where we look at Nintendo, like that's where they are with their console in the market now, because they're gearing for family-friendly stuff. They're gearing for the not mature-rated titles. Like I can really only think of 2 Wii U games that are mature-rated. That's like Watch Dogs and Bayonetta. That's the only 2 that I can think of.
There's
what was that?
Zombie U.
Yep.
Zombie U. Was that one mature as well?
I think I assume there was a little blood and stuff in it.
Well, it is a zombie game. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
But it's just I can relate to what he says because, like, part of us, we want to expand our, thing is like a gaming part of culture, in that we're not, these little kids who think, girls shouldn't play video games and girls just should be sexual objects and that kind of stuff. It's a very immature, portrayal of, what gamers are. And I think that's hurt some of the image of it for a lot of people when, like, you go out and tell, like, a stranger, oh, yeah, I play video games. Like, they put you into that stereotype, like, oh, they'll think you're a closed-minded individual, that kind of thing. They'll think of Call of Duty. They'll think of a screaming 13-year-old kid throwing a controller at a TV, that kind of stuff. That's that for me, that's not what game's about.
Right.
And I think that if Gamergate has done anything, it's brought more of an awareness to that fact that we need to change that image of ourselves as, just being part of gaming culture. Because this is becoming more recognized as an actual entertainment medium. You've got games like The Last of Us that are better than most movies I've seen in the last 10 years.
Yep.
The story-wise, presentation-wise, acting-wise. They're becoming incredible forms of art. The redeeming thing, I read this actually off a comedian. I can't remember his name, but he brought this up. The video games are the only form of media that if you're not good at it, it denies you the rest of it. It's not like, if you think about it, like, you're listening to your new, like, some new music, right? You just picked it up. It's like you're listening to a new Maroon 5 album. You get like halfway through, and then the music stops, and there's a voice that comes on. Okay, now you have to dance for me. And if I don't think that you can dance good enough, you don't get to hear the rest of the song.
Right.
And games are like the only kind of thing that'll do that for you, because there's a satisfaction not just in watching it, but being part of it. You have to physically, with your hands, move the story forward, because it doesn't just play itself. And that's, I think, what got a lot of us hooked into these kind of games, because it's an evolving experience that we have more or less absolute control over how well we do if we continue through the story or these things like that.
Unless the game's glitching on you.
Yeah, unless that's happening. Unless you're playing Drive Club and then you can't, have friends. But if you look at it, like, even with what Call of Duty did, to where it became more multiplayer focused, these games, like, if you're not good,
You don't get it.
if you can't get through a Call of Duty match, you can't stand dying like 7 or 8 times in a game really fast. It's not a very enjoyable experience. Like, for me, I haven't been playing Call of Duty as much because in these tight little areas that they've been packing us into, it just felt like whack-a-mole with guns, and I sort of lost interest with that after a while. But I think when you look at these new things like with Advanced Warfighter, how you've given these new abilities that let them traverse longer distances in about just as fast a time, it's going to make the game a little bit more feel like less a confined little brawler arena to where, okay, now, like, for instance, a Battlefield, you have the option of going up the gut or you have the option of going the long way around and then making them all look like idiots and just murdering them all from behind. Call of Duty, you haven't really had that opportunity, and now with these things, like even looking at the jetpack, you have more three-dimensional range of movement. It can open up new maneuvering options. It can open up
Verticality is no longer an obstacle; it's an option.
Oh yeah, and even now, if you look at Titanfall, like without verticality, if you can't play a three-dimensional game in Titanfall, you're gonna get murdered a lot. Like I've had friends who tried playing that because they enjoyed Call of Duty and they put it down. Like I just couldn't handle people getting at me from up, down, below, the wall running. I couldn't keep up with that. And
but yeah, I think to your point that like diversity amongst games is really important, but it's also like important to recognize that like Bayonetta, for example, is a version of a female portrayal that's like an extreme, like sexualized version of the character, but it's very self-aware of that. It's the whole idea. And then you have characters like Ellie or Tess from Last of Us that are also a portrayal of women. Like I think the diversity and the range of that is okay to have in games. And
Right.
absolutely, I think that's absolutely necessary too.
Yeah.
If you don't have that, and every game just ends up being like
exactly the same.
Call of Duty, like there's no point because then you're just playing this with a different spinner or a different bell on it. And if you look at games that like took, because if you look at Titanfall, it's a natural progression of what Call of Duty is. You start off, let's say, you go from regular old shooters like Wolfenstein. You jump to Halo, where all of a sudden, okay, now you're moving a little bit faster. You got different weaponries, different type like that, and that's cool. Then you build that next with Call of Duty, where you get all that plus faster pace, plus you add on perks, you do different things, and then every game, like just about every game now, has some sort of perk integration, like that has like Destiny has it. I mean, Titanfall has it. New Call of Duty is going to have it. A lot of these things let you customize how you play the game. And I think that's going to be more of what you see in the future of games coming forward, because people don't want to just enjoy experience. They want to make it feel like it's their own. And being able to play it in those own ways gives you that opportunity.
Definitely.
But back to your topic at hand with the over-sexualization of it, I would say that if it's targeted for, let's say the whole M rating on it, mature audiences, mature needs to be, mature. You need to be able to handle that kind of stuff. You need to be able to see that Bayonetta, this is a character coming from a Japanese culture. That whole game is built in, as I'm not mistaken, it's from a Japanese developer.
Yep.
And it's that's just how they are. We have to accept that, we have Japanese culture, we have Western culture. I mean, it's just there's differences there, and you have to be mature enough to recognize that. Should you be offended if she's over sexualized? You can be if you want. That's totally cool.
Right.
But should you say that the game is terrible because of that?
No.
I don't think you should put that up there necessarily. I think that if you can say it, but I don't think you should put that into your overall score.
Right. And that's where a lot of the issue was with people's reaction to that very thing. So again, I hate to make it sound like it's all about the score, but that's part of it. If the score didn't exist and it was only about the context of the words, a wrap up summary at the very end, people would not be making a big deal out of that.
They'd be okay. Here's my score of the game. Here's how it is. And then you have a separate category. Here's what I liked. Here's what I didn't like. That's good. That's kind of cool. And then I mean, even if you look at the new Metal Gear Solid, you've got that chick sniper. It's like that. You're watching this game, and then all of a sudden, this chick who's wearing a freaking Speedo that Borat wore, and just with a massive sniper rifle, you're like, okay, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense to my Western brain. Yeah. What's going on here?
Yeah, but two things about that. One, we don't know anything about the character outside of the fact that she's wearing a bikini, and but we know that she has the ability to turn invisible, kind of, and she can move really fucking fast. I don't know if you saw the newest gameplay thing. I don't want to ruin anything for anyone, but she has superhuman abilities. She can move really fast. She can cloak herself, and she needs to stay mobile. I mean, that's pretty much the only things that we really know about the character, and people are really quick to call Kojima sexist, or say Metal Gear as a franchise is sexist, or the character is sexist. But
have you looked at all the leather Psycho Mantis is wearing?
That
Come
you got
on.
Snake in every Metal Gear Solid game, shirtless at least. You have Raiden, who's literally naked throughout large portions of Metal Gear Solid 2.
Yeah.
You have Vamp, who's literally like a sexualization embodiment of like a gay guy, basically, and like, it's really hard for me to like fight for the side of saying Quiet is sexist when I know that much about the franchise and knowing that much like different characters are portrayed in so many different ways. Like,
Right.
like I know there's more to Quiet than people are just like, oh, she's just a walking set of boobs with a sniper
Well, yeah.
rifle.
There's
I
always
would, yeah. No, go ahead. Sorry.
there's always more to every MGS character than what they look like. So can't just assume based off of what you see.
Right.
I noticed if you look at Metal Gear as a franchise, and then you take that culture, and then you look at just about any anime, I want to make a relation. If like Gurren Lagann, for instance, you have all of those different kind of archetype characters. You have your overly gay stereotype character. You have your overly sexualized female character with a bikini, with a sniper rifle. It's just
Yeah.
what their culture does. It's for their character types. I mean, even in America, like strong men are always predicted as these huge muscle-bound triangular-shaped bodies. I mean,
Right.
even if you look at Superman, he's got that little red underwear over his shorts. That was from old circus strongmen from back in the day. That's just
Right.
what those archetypes fit for those clothes. And for I guess for their, in Japan, like I don't know too much about their culture other than just what I've seen from these things. These are the norms for them, for these sort of entertainment opportunities, these entertainment venues. It's just, that's how there is with us. And we just need to recognize that, I think, as the mature rated gamers who should be playing these games, cough, that's just how these things are. It all rolls back again just to this whole depiction of women in the media for video games, how their characters are portrayed. Like even take a staple like Samus Aran, right? Always been the strong silent type, always.
Which
and then
character?
Nintendo, Samus Aran
Okay, yeah, yeah.
for Metroid,
Yeah, yeah.
and then you take what Nintendo put out with Metroid Other M. They made her character almost completely dependent on the male character that was her captain or something like
I
that.
didn't play that.
And
Go on.
it's actually it's not a bad game. It's just they change her character in a way that takes her from being the strong female to where it shows you more of her insecurities and where she doesn't have the strongest presence. Now, don't get me wrong, she still kicks a ton of ass. Like just because they had the team from Ninja Gaiden working on that game too, so it's a fun
Okay.
game to play.
Okay.
Yeah. Like there's like first person elements that are sort of like Metroid Prime. There's those third person action games. It still has that side scroller kind of quality to it. And then there's these a ton of crazy action moves that she'll do that will definitely show you Team Ninja's involvement, to where she'll do a backflip, land on this alien's face, and just like put her arm cannon down in its mouth and just blast it. That kind of thing. Yeah, it's a very visceral experience. But then when you snap back from all that ass kicking to this girl that doesn't really seem to fit that character anymore, it's something I think that we need more stronger. Like, I'm going to say that I think Bayonetta is a really good example of what we need to do more with the video games, because you have a female character. Yes, she's sexualized, but she's not weak in
She
character.
is so strong, like ridiculously.
Yeah, her character, like just her portrayal of her character, she's confident, she's cool, she kicks a ton of ass. I think that's more of what
She's not
we would need
relying
to
on
see.
anyone.
No,
Yeah.
not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I'd put her. I'd say that she could probably take Dante from Devil May Cry.
She
with
could. She totally
just the
could.
nonsense she does, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that you've given her just the strength. You've given her the strength of character. That's something we need to see more of in those like things. We need to see less of females in video games as
That are
supporting
helpless.
characters,
Yeah.
and more as main characters.
Yep.
Right.
To
Yep.
where, yeah, I think that, and I think moving forward, yes, there's plenty of opportunity for that.
Yep.
So I'm hoping.
I'm hoping too. I'm really, really hoping, because the games that it's done really well, character development wise. You have the boss from Metal Gear Solid. Essentially, the entire story revolves around her and her legacy and her involvement in everything. You have Nariko from Heavenly Sword, one of my favorite games of all time. Another really good example of someone who's like, she's sexy, but she's not like sexualized, but she's like insanely powerful, and like people rely on her, like There are a few examples that I think of when it comes to like women in gaming that I'm just like, yeah, like I need more of this in my life.
Right.
Exactly. And again, just being the few examples, we need it to be like I think what would do gaming thing, you take a character like Master Chief, right? You give him.
At first, he had no personality.
Yeah.
Not at all.
But you can, but you can do that with a female character too, and then you can build this monolithic "I am the character" kind of personality. That's what they built with Master Chief because they made him a strong silent type. So when you're playing it, you just feel like you're the one, in control of that, and the story revolves around you. I think actually, it's a good example of another strong character, Miranda Keyes from Halo. Because I can't think of a single instance where she was a hindrance for the plot, where she was like the damsel in distress, these kind of things, where she wasn't in control of her own situation.
Right.
And that was a huge part of the driving force for that series, was that one of the supporting characters.
You got Sheva from Resident Evil 5.
Yeah. I played that. I remember I played that with my buddy Matt when it first came out. We went through 12 hours of that game sitting through.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a single moment where her character felt like she needed to be rescued. It's not like the President's Daughter from Resident Evil 4, where she's just so annoying.
Constantly needed
like,
to be rescued.
Help me, Leon! And it's like every 5 minutes. It drove me nuts. It was worse than Navi from Ocarina of Time. Terrible. Awful. And, but like, if we get to where we can move these characters, again, just from positions of supporting characters to where they're the lead, I think that'll change a lot.
Yeah, I agree. I do want to move on to the last few topics. Before we do that, were there any other guest topics aside from what we talked about?
Not necessarily a topic, but fun fact that I just learned yesterday. My girlfriend, her name is Yane Dandridge, right? So she started telling me about her cousin, Merle Dandridge. And we were going through her portfolio reel, her website. And she's the voice actor for Alex Vance from Half-Life 2. And Marlene from The Last of Us.
Half-Life 3 confirmed. There it is.
Wait, so your girl's cousin?
That's awesome.
Yes. Yes.
That's so cool, man.
I was like, what?
What?
You gotta get her to call your friends and leave voicemails.
Right.
Just as the characters.
First of all, let me just say this. Marlene's voice acting was phenomenal.
Amazing.
Phenomenal. That's another really good example of a female character. I mean, I don't want to keep referring to Last of Us because like all of their characters are amazing, but like,
Yeah.
we need to get her on the podcast.
That would be awesome.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yes.
Well, again, if we're taking Last of Us, you look at Ellie, even. This is a girl that's like 14, 15 years old, right, in the series. And she's not sexualized. She's a very, very strong character.
Right.
Her development, you actually get to see her, and you actually kill people in pretty visceral ways with her. And
people up.
like, I think that people need to look towards that and say, okay, this is a female character done right.
Yeah, look at the good examples and the bad examples. You can't just have it be one side of the narrative. You gotta take.
It needs to be more balanced, but you have to acknowledge at least that
At least acknowledge, yeah. Yeah. So that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, craziness.
Yeah, we'll have to get in touch with her and get her on the podcast. Like, hey, listen.
Do I say congratulations? I think.
I think so.
Yeah, tell everyone from the Black Money podcast says congrats.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So you can let us know when we get Half-Life 3 going, right?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we all want that. We've wanted that forever.
For a long term.
I think I saw that there was a Kickstarter campaign for Half-Life 3 advertising that they would just did all around Valve Studio, like the whole city, where it's like, we want it, and it's just like a logo on the side of a truck. It just says like the Half-Life logo, and it's got 3 in it.
We want
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you guys. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but I want to talk about it a little bit more. Mm-hmm. Do you think Sony is slipping overall in terms of its public perception? Will the lackluster acclaim on its more prominent games of the year heavily detriment it moving forward, and give Nintendo or Microsoft an edge, especially now with this recent price drop on Microsoft's console?
I have an opinion on that. I think it's a little early in terms of widespread reception to say that they're slipping. I think it's a little early for that. Obviously, with things like Drive Club, I think it's more of, you would say, like a hiccup in their momentum that they have right now. I think in terms of the general consumer, I think the PS4 sales momentum is still going to be what it is, you know, especially being that this is like year one. I wanted to say earlier when we were talking about, like you were saying, it's disappointing with games like Drive Club and how I guess you say Destiny was received by some people. I think it's disappointing.
Infamous too.
Yep, Infamous.
Watch Dogs.
Ugh. I think it's disappointing for people being that this is year one and we're kind of expecting kind of a couple games that just like wow us, especially, you know, with next gen.
Right.
But I think at the same time, I think in my opinion, it is still a little bit early to say things like, is Sony slipping? I think the momentum is going to continue in terms of sales. But I think that conversation can more be had, I guess, when at the top of 2015, when we see things like The Order come out and games like that, I think we'll see, after we see how those were received, like, is Sony slipping or not? Once, like, things really get going in terms of next gen, like, hitting its stride, starting to hit its stride, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree completely on that. I mean, if you think about it as well, the thing is, Destiny, that's still a third-party game.
Yeah.
That's not Sony.
Yeah.
Right.
Like this is a game that's on PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, PlayStation 4, Xbox
Right.
One.
But it is
And-
heavily promoted on PlayStation.
Yeah,
Watch
that-
Dogs, so they like
yeah.
pair.
And again, with that, it's really. I would say that it's difficult to call. I mean, I agree with Darius' comment completely. It's difficult to say that they're slipping when they're just so dominant in the market right now for home console sales for this stuff. Like, if you're buying a third-party game, it's usually going to a PlayStation 4, and it's just, even when looking at it in the long run, I mean, with the hardware specs as they are, the PlayStation 4 is still going to outclock the Xbox One, and that's going to be more evident, I think, later in our console cycle. So it's just, if you look at it as them slipping, I wouldn't necessarily agree.
Okay.
I think that if you notice how much that Microsoft has had to do to get their console in your hands, they had to remove 3 key features that they were trying to sell at launch. They've had to drop the price 3 times. Twice. Excuse me. I think it's twice.
I think it might be 3. So there was
Okay.
a price drop for the Xbox One Titanfall bundle. There was a price drop when they got rid of the Kinect, and there was a price drop just now.
They're
That's
desperate.
year one.
They're desperate to turn a profit on that thing right now, because it's just, when they look at their numbers compared to how Sony's doing with PlayStation 4, it's been dominant.
Right.
And
But how long?
I can't say Sony's slipping. I think that they've had some hiccups. Again, agreeing with Darius on that, but that's not going to kill them.
No.
I think that what we need to see more of before we can make a definite opinion on that is more of those first-party games. Like, we need to see how Halo Master Chief reception is released and how that drives console sales. We need to see how The Order is received. And then I think after holiday this year, we need to watch to see where more of the third-party games are going to what system, as opposed to what systems being sold, to see who is actually, doing better. Because, okay, let's face it, like, a lot of these kids these days, they'll have both systems. And, like, well, what do I want to play it on? And
What is my
I think,
friends playing on?
again, and if you have more of that community playing on one system rather than the other, you can kind of get a feel for how that's going to go.
Right on.
It's true.
Well, I think I would agree. I would agree with what both of you said. It's going to take some time to really know for sure what will happen, but I'm trying to stay optimistic, but also like be cautious a little bit, because we've seen companies start really strong and end really weak, or we've seen the opposite, start really weak and end up strong. So like the Nintendo 3DS, that started very, 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 very weak, like extremely weak, and then like it's like the number one thing people are buying right now.
Oh yeah, that's, if you look at it. I mean, with Nintendo and how this is coming from a kid who grew up playing Nintendo, I have a strong love for their characters, for their games, and it's something that's been. I want to say it's almost like watching a family member losing control of their life, as it is, because you look at how dominant Nintendo used to be, what Google was, and where if you're playing a video game where somebody would say, "Oh, well, you're playing a Nintendo. That's cool."
Yeah.
Even though you're playing on the PlayStation or something like that. And now they don't have that
Exactly.
anymore. And
People say PlayStation or like, oh, you're playing an Xbox. It's like, well, I'm playing a PS3 or PS4.
Yeah,
It's like, oh, you're playing
yeah.
PlayStation. Yeah.
And Nintendo has lost that. I think that there's still some, like, in our generation as a household name. We know what Nintendo is.
Yeah.
But when you're looking at you take all three consoles that are out right now. You got PlayStation 4, you got Xbox One, and then you have Wii U sitting in a little corner over there with a mountain of just regular Wii games. If you're like at GameStop, we're just like they're all third-party crap, and like this, I don't know. It's just like Nintendo was wanting to make such a money, they were just stamping their seal of approval on anything. And I remember when Nintendo seal of approval used to mean something.
Yeah.
Like back in the day, because that was like, okay, cool. Like when a Mega Man game came out from a Nintendo, like a Super Nintendo or something like that, and it had that big thing, I'm like, okay, cool. I know this is going to be fun.
Right.
But now they played so much into their third party, thing where they want to make party games. It's like they're losing like the hardcore crowd a bit. I mean, people aren't going to be getting Advanced Warfighter for Wii U. Who's going to be doing that? Or
is it even coming to the Wii U?
I don't know. I don't think it is. I haven't heard anything about it. And then when you look at it, it's just they hired somebody else recently. They were doing some new research. I think they're making another hardware system.
I heard about that.
And I'm hopeful that it's going to be up to spec for some of the other stuff out there. And there's three things they need to do with it if they're going to make a hardware that's going to compete with PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Mm-hmm. They need to make it to where it's socially easily accessible, like, PlayStation and Xbox, where they can both get on YouTube, Twitch, all those kind of things. You need to make sure that this thing is easy to code for, because that's what's murdered them, I think, especially on Wii U. Like Watch Dogs, it didn't come out until like a year later on Wii U. And you've got those couple things, and then you also need to make the games people want to play. Like you're gonna need to come out swinging with some more first party titles. Like you may want to put a Smash Brothers on there. That'd be awesome. But you need to put some of those old standbys. Like we're gonna need another Metroid. We're gonna need another Star Fox. We're gonna need like a lot of like we're gonna need something that's gonna push that thing. Like, oh, hey, this game's gonna be fun. GameCube's been the last we've seen of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem.
That's it. And like, yeah, I get like F-Zero. Like I remember playing that racing game, and that game was nuts. Mm-hmm. Like, I think that you could release F-Zero and put like if they were going to do like an F-Zero on Wii U, that would sell well, I think. And even looking to get, because it's not going to have that comparison with Forza, because these are cars that are going like different. 700 miles an hour, like Mach 4 down a ridiculous track, and just like spinning out and exploding all over the place. It's a very nice arcadey kind of thing. I feel like
they don't really care about consoles that much. They just want to focus on handhelds.
Well, the thing is, Nintendo's still making money.
Yeah, this is true.
A conversation I had with the Prince Andy, you remember him? Mm-hmm. We just spoke about him a little earlier. I was talking to him like, if Nintendo, I think, wants to make a new handheld as opposed to make a console, they need to make it a phone too. That because you have all those crazy Nintendo games that they're never going to make on just like iOS or Android, and as insane, like I'm telling you, those would sell like
so
great. Yeah, but if they make their own phone, that it's still a good phone, and then like go through like every major network, like go through AT&T, Verizon, Sprint, all those, and then you have these games that are exclusively to that. They're going to make so much more money to where they wouldn't even necessarily need to make a new hardware generation because you got it on a phone.
Right.
And this is a company that's constantly reinvented itself. I mean, it used to be a love hotel company. It used to be a trading card company, and then they went into video games. Yeah. I think if they went into phones, that would be the next logical step for them. I think it'd be great.
Even if it wasn't phones, if it was just tablets, because they already have the tablet device for the Wii U. If they turn,
it's right there.
If they turn the console into a tablet that you take with you anywhere you go, and then connect that to the TV,
right?
That, like, to me, that is the next logical step. Like, tablets are becoming so big now, and they're already implementing it in some way in their console as it is, so they can have a handheld and a console in one thing. Because there are gaming laptop like tablets that are like that.
Right. That would fit right in with where the market's going.
Yeah. Nintendo, if you're listening, stop fucking up and do that.
Make a phone, give me Star Fox. Those are your two options.
And Sony, no more hiccups.
No more hiccups. No more.
And for the love of God, please don't make me have to walk around a Star Fox again. I don't want that.
And the Order needs to be a good game. I've been hearing from some publications that it's okay. It's very, very pretty, but gameplay wise, it's not. It's like uninspired.
Right.
They need to make that game really fucking good.
Right.
People.
Microsoft, I think if they want to succeed, I'm sorry, I interrupted. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I think if Microsoft wants to succeed, keep the price slash permanent. Do that. You're going to sell a lot more by undercutting them because your hardware isn't like too much different. It's only going to become evident like later on in the cycle, and you can always do software updates to your thing through the internet like that. That's fine, but what you want to do, keep that price cut, make it to where like maybe in this like holiday season or even early next year to where it's not just the bundle at $350. Okay, you just make the system $350. Mm-hmm. And then you can have people who haven't bought Xbox One. And they'll be like, okay, I can get the Xbox One, the controller, the Kinect. Maybe even they just throw the Kinect in there as opposed to
Kinect
trying to make their money back on that.
Just $350.
If they did, I mean, they won't.
They won't.
Just because of how much it costs. But if they made it to where you have even just the Xbox One, and then you sell that with a game, to where the system itself is $350, and then you got a game that's like $60 or so bucks, like brand new, to where you can have that for the same price as buying just the console of PlayStation.
Right.
That would help them out, I think, immensely.
I think, yes, but I also think if they did those bundles for $350 that came with the game, that would also that'd be better for the consumer.
Maybe it'd be better for us, but like the perception now that if you look at it, especially after year's E3, was that Sony is the cool guy that just hanging out in a t-shirt at the end of the bar who's offering to buy you a drink. And then Microsoft are the guys that are all huddled around one table talking about business that don't want anything to do with you, that are being loud and annoying, and that are just completely inflexible about, moving out of your way so you can watch the TV. It's where they inadvertently pitted themselves as an image of just trying to make money.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to originally ship this console with always internet connected, having to have the Kinect, not being able to play used games, to where it would just drive them to have more money to be made.
Right.
They want to undo that. Price cut. Keep it permanent.
Yeah.
Right.
So before we put this podcast to a close, I obviously don't exactly want to, but we are on the hour and 26-minute mark for the call recorded thing. Are any of these other ones you'd like to talk about more so than the other? The last two, the two Japanese games need a cater / same generation hypothesis.
I'll say that I think Japan needs to step up their game when it comes to making. I know that they're still recovering from the earthquake and the tsunami they had, and that murdered a lot of their game development and just their economy in general in a lot of areas. But I think we just need to see more games from them. I think that would make it better.
Yeah. Because the argument I always make about Japanese developed games is that the reason why they've been so popular is because they're so different than Western games.
Mm.
Right.
So if they're trying to make their games just like everyone else's games, well, it's not really helpful.
Right.
And how many more Final Fantasies do you need to have before it's actually the Final Fantasy?
The Final Fantasy doesn't exist. It's a figment of your imagination. Also, I'm Batman.
I agree, though. I think we do need to see more games. I feel like during the time where it was Dreamcast and PlayStation 2, Japanese gamers, developers were like at the top. You know what I mean? Mm. They were kind of setting the trend, saying Western gamers were like looking at their games, saying, "Oh, we need to incorporate some of that." You know what I mean? I think it needs to kind of come full circle again to a point where they can be dictating some of the trends in the industry again.
Yeah, I think Platinum, in terms of action games, is doing really well with that.
Yeah.
I think you're seeing
Vanquish. I loved it.
Vanquish is awesome. Fucking.
I want more Vanquish.
Bayonetta was awesome. Metal Gear Rising was flawed because they didn't have enough time to work on the game they really wanted to. But a lot of the mechanics in the game were really well done.
Yeah.
It was a unique take on the IP. I like that.
Yeah, definitely.
So Japanese developers, you don't need to cater to an audience that already wants your shit.
Exactly. And it may take a while. But I'm fine with that. I'll wait until they get back on top, but just show us. And I think they're showing us with Platinum and things like
Final
that.
Fantasy 15,
15 looks great. I hope we can play it soon.
Before we all die. Thank you guys for coming on this podcast. This has been, of course, an enjoyable experience for me. Hopefully,
pleasure to be here.
Yeah, this is good times.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Kevin couldn't make it, obviously, because his computer is not working properly.
Sorry, Kevin, we missed you.
Miss you.
Got Kevin right here with us all times.
Right here.
Yeah.
And for you guys at home, I think the recording started a little bit later than the live stream. So again, it's Trinity Mark Blue. We got Serious Sam. And yeah, JBlaze06. Thank you for tuning in. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next podcast / episode of JBlaze Online / whatever the fuck. Game on. JBlaze out. I'm gonna press the stop button.